Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I have a pretty exciting video in store for you today, right? I'll be doing a walkthrough of this platform called Action One. And what this is RMM, which stands for Remote Management and Monitoring Platform, right? So basically it allows you to remotely manage your computers and devices and stuff like that, right? So some of the big things that Action One could do is that it could do risk-based management, as seen here on their homepage, right? So they discover and they prioritize vulnerabilities, and they also remediate vulnerabilities as well too, right? Some other big things they do is that they do software deployment, so you could deploy software to computers remotely, right, without having to physically be there. And another thing it does, it also does remote control, right? So you could log in, let's say for instance you're assisting an end user with a problem they have, you could remotely log into their system using Action One, right? So I've used a couple RMMs in the past, such as Ninja, as well as VMware and some others that I can't just recall right now, but I've dealt with a couple of these in the past, and I must say I am really impressed with Action One, specifically because they give you the whole the entire solution to use free of charge. So when I say free of charge, I don't mean like some companies they give you things to use like a free trial, but it's limited to only these features. That's not the case with Action One. They actually give you the full feature set, right? The full platform to use. The only limitation being that you could only use it up to 100 devices, right? But nevertheless, this is more than perfect for if you have a small business, let's say a coffee shop, or some sort of small business that only runs up to 100 devices and you need to manage them remotely. This is perfect for something like that, right? So enough talk, let me just get into the technical demo now and show you guys how this actually works. So first of all, what we want to do is head over to action1.com and create an account. So to do that, you simply enter your email address, and this has to be a corporate email address, meaning you can't use a dot at Gmail or at Yahoo. It needs to be at a domain name, right? In order for you to be able to create the account, right? There are probably ways where you could get something like this online, a commercial account to use if you just want to test it. You could probably feel free to Google that, right? However, I already have an account with this, so let me just try something different, right? Just to show you this process. So once you enter the email address, you're gonna select your region. So I'm gonna leave it to North America. And next you need to enter all this information. So your first name, last name, company size, and choose your password, right? So I actually already have an account, so let me exit this. I'm just gonna go back, right? And I'm gonna hit on login, and I'm going to enter my details now. Right, so it's prompted me for verification code, which is your email address. It emails your verification code. I'm assuming you could probably change this to something like authentication app, but I just have not got around to doing that. All right, and submit. And here I am in my dashboard, right? So once you log in, yours may look a bit different because you wouldn't have anything. I, however, created this account prior to making this video, and I already added an endpoint, but you may not see anything here, right? So let me kind of just show you what you may see, right? You may see something like this screen, right, which gives you the option to install Action One agent. So this is how you'd actually be controlling the devices through the use of agents, right? This needs to be installed on the device. As the time of making this video, the agent is only available for Windows devices, right? So clients and clients and server operating systems, you could install this on. So that'd be like Windows 11, Windows 10, Server 2019, etc. Right. However, I think in their roadmap somewhere in January or February next year, they're bringing out a Mac agent as well. However, right now it's only available for Windows. So you have two options of installing this agent. You could download the agent. So let's say you want to download it, and you just click on that and you'd see it downloading here. All right, and you could simply copy that to the workstation in particular you want to install this on. However, the preferred way I have of doing this is to copy a download URL. And why I like to do this is, let's say for instance you need to install this on a computer remotely. So let's say it's an employee or someone that you may not be able to physically give a copy of the agent. What you could do is copy the URL and just paste this and send it on an email to them, right? So let me actually bring up this remote desktop session I have. I'm going to be using this computer for my demo. This is actually a Windows 7 workstation, and Windows 7 is end of life, guys, but I'm just doing that for this video just to show you the amount of vulnerabilities this operating system has. Right, so I simply pasted the URL there, and you see it already downloaded the agent automatically. So what I'll do next, I'll double click on that and hit run, and this would go through now the process of installing this agent on this machine. Right, and this usually takes a couple seconds or maybe up to a minute or two, to actually do. So let's just give it some time. Alright, so looks like the agent was successful in the installation. So what I want to do is, let me minimize this, and I'm going to head back over now to endpoints. Before I do that, let me change this widescreen is killing my eyes. So there you go, dark mode. And I know this is a favorite with a lot of you guys, right? But so it has a dark mode. So now that I've activated the dark mode, let me go back to endpoints. If I hit on endpoints, there is the PC, right? User PC. This is the PC that I just installed the agent on. So this was the previous PC that I did before recording this video. Right, guys, so if we come over to the dashboard, and there's a bunch of different things to do in this platform, so I just kind of want to go over really quick some of the high points for me, right, because I don't want the video to be too long, right? So if we head over to the dashboard, we'd see a bird's eye view, right, of what's going on in terms of vulnerabilities, devices, etc. Right, so we can see that we have two endpoints that this software the agents was installed on. We can see we have 204 vulnerabilities, right? And if we click on this, it actually takes us to the vulnerabilities. Also, we could see the amount of installed software, missing updates. If we come to the side here now, it has a very interesting matrix, right? So it kind of shows us the critical vulnerabilities identified, the high, the medium, etc. And it also shows us this information over time, right? Once it was identified over a period of time. So moving on really quick, vulnerabilities. So if we actually hit on this, so by default, it shows us this list of all the vulnerabilities identified, right, in our organization. When I say within our organization, on the devices that we have the agents installed, right? So what we could do, we could apply filters here if we wanted to see, the CV, right? If we want to filter them by CVEs or CVSS scores, right? To identify which ones are more critical, we could do that here, or vulnerable software or endpoints, etc. Right? Also, on top of here, if we hit the drop down box, right, we could kind of zone in here as well, right? So realistically, guys, based on my experience, it's pretty tough to remediate everything, right? You just simply don't have that amount of resources in most of organizations. So in most cases, we want to focus on critical and high alerts, right? So if I hit critical, this would now kind of narrow down and show me this is a list of the critical vulnerabilities that you need to focus on. And to remediate these things is super simple, guys. To do that, we could simply hit on the one we want to remediate and start remediation, or we could simply click this, right, and that highlights all, and we could simply start remediation here as well. So this particular software is Google Chrome, right? It shows us that here, and this is the update that's available that will basically patch this version of Google Chrome to make it not vulnerable anymore. You would also need to accept the license agreement. I already did it previously, right? But you need to accept that for some software, right? And next, if we hit next step, it shows us the endpoint. So by default, it is going to apply to all endpoints, or we can manually specify here. So if you have certain groups set up, right, you could choose which group you want it to apply to, or if you want to select individual endpoints, you could choose the endpoints here and hit add, and you're going to hit next, and we could set up a schedule. So say if you have weekly patching that your company does, you could select that here. If you do monthly patching, you could select that here. Or if you want to select run now, right, you could select that here too. Run once and then select it here. So to be honest, guys, this would fail, right, when I run it, because this computer is running Windows 7 and the newer version of Google Chrome is not compatible with it. So I'm gonna hit finish, but oh my bad, it actually set up automation. I must have selected a date, right? But you get the gist, right? Once you select that, you would see it going through the remediation process, and once it's done, it'll tell you success. In my case, it would have told me failed, and I could go to the history right here to prove it to you, right? Because, and the reason it failed, it show you error, right, because the version is not supported on Windows 7, right? But in your case, most likely it should say success, right, once your OS is up to date. So yeah, so that's how you remediate vulnerabilities. And next, if we go to endpoints, we'd say breakdown of all the endpoints that we have agents installed on. Right here, we'd see, a bird's eye view of vulnerabilities that were identified. We could click in here as well too to get some more useful information. Some other cool things we could do here is if we hit on the three dots, we could reboot the computer, right? So we could reboot this device here. We could also run scripts here, which is pretty cool. Another nifty thing we could do is remote desktop, right, guys? So you could actually log in remotely. Say a assistant, an end user, you need to fix something on the computer. Let's hit remote desktop. And what this will do, it actually gives the end user 15 seconds or something like that to accept. If not, it kind of automatically pushes you through, right? So as you can see, I am now remoting to this computer, right, using action 1. That's pretty handy. And we could also deploy software, we could deploy updates, we could remove the endpoint, we could uninstall software. All right, so let's try the uninstall software bit, right? So let me just kind of show you how that works. So if I select the endpoint and I go to uninstall software, right, I could search for the software. So let's say Google Chrome in this instance, right, and it should show up here showing us Google Chrome, giving us the option to uninstall. Okay, for some, oh, there you go, right? So yeah, Google Chrome, and if we hit next step, it shows us the endpoint, so we could add more endpoints or remove as the case may be. I'm gonna hit next step, and I'm gonna run now, run once, right? So what this will do now, you see on the lower right hand corner, the automation has started, and it shows us the status as running. So once it's done uninstalling, the status would change to success. There we go, right? So it just took a couple seconds. So which means Google Chrome was now uninstalled from this computer. So let me hop over to this machine to maybe confirm that really quick. So if I head back over to that, and I choose that, and I go to remote desktop, more than likely we should not see Google Chrome available here if all went as planned, right? So login and Chrome. Oh, right, so it's just a shortcut. So it was uninstalled, right? And they ask if you want to delete the shortcut as well. Right, so yeah, it worked as planned. Google Chrome wasn't uninstalled. Another thing you can do, actually, you could install software, right? So let's say, again, you select the endpoint, you deploy software, let's just say Zoom, for instance, you wanted to deploy. You choose the version. I already accepted the license, but you may need to do so. And we select next, run once, run now, select finish, and it should come up here showing you that the automation is running. Right, so guys, think how powerful this is. If you manage any sort of a network, right, we can see success, which means it was installed. How easy this is. Instead of you having to manually go to a computer or walk a user through installing these things, you could do this in literally a couple of seconds to any remote computer, Windows based that is, that you have the agents installed on, right? So we could, moving on from endpoints, we could create groupings. So this is, perfect for most organizations. Say you have departments like say HR, finance, etc. that you want has different needs, right? Different software that they need and stuff like that. You could create a group here, right? You could create a group, say name it HR, etc. So when you're deploying your patching and your software, you could do it based on the group, right? For the criteria, another super useful thing is this actually hooks into Active Directory. So if you had an organizational unit in your Active Directory, let's say HR, finance, you could pull in that OU here and apply your policies specifically to that, right? Another thing you could do too, you could choose like operating system, manufacturer. Say you wanted Dell computers alone to get this particular software or a certain operating system alone. You could create groups there, guys, right? So this is pretty useful. You could kind of use your imagination and see how useful this is. Install software. So this gives us a bird's eye view of what software is installed throughout the organization, and this is useful as well, guys. Say like someone is using a software they shouldn't be, right? Let's just say TeamViewer, for instance, right? And you want to delete this, you want to uninstall the software. You have Joe, for instance, who's always installing things he shouldn't be installing, right? We simply select that software and we hit uninstall, right? Or we could view the particular endpoints that have it installed and uninstall it from there, right? But this is pretty handy. Again, if you have those special users that always seem to be installing their own thing, you could totally uninstall the software in the background without having to be confrontational with them, right? Here you could approve updates, right? So we could select which updates we want to approve before sending out, right? If that's something you want to do. We could also create automations, right? So if we were to click new automation, we could create an automation to deploy software automatically, to uninstall software automatically. Say you see TeamViewer again on people's computer and that shouldn't be there. We could create uninstall software, right? Automation here, right? And it's always good when you could automate these things, guys. It saves you a bunch of time instead of having to manually go through them. Right, so history. So this shows us kind of what was done, previously in the past, gives us a timeline of what was done, kind of self-explanatory. Next up, we have custom reports, right? So here we could add various reports, right, that we want to generate. We have antivirus, we have BitLocker key, bunch of different reports here that might be useful. It's pretty self-explanatory again, so you could kind of just go through the workflow here and create those custom reports. Beside custom reports, you also have built-in reports, and these built-in reports are actually broken down into these 4 categories, right? IT asset management, patch management, endpoint security, etc. These could be further broken down, right, by simply clicking the drop down. So if I want to go to patch management, let's say I want a weekly update summary, I hit on that. And it's kind of tricky, but you need to come on the right hand corner here, select tools and select subscribe. So what that does, that actually gives you the option to subscribe, they call it, to this report. So what this does, it just sets up a schedule to have the report emailed to you, right? So you could enter your email address here. Let's say you have an IT help desk or a security or patch management email address. You could enter that here and choose the specific schedule that you like the reports to be emailed to you, right? So I'm gonna hit save, and yeah, that was saved. If you go to schedule reports, we'd see, these, but this was one I created previously, but this is the one that I just created, so you could see the reports that we have scheduled. Similarly with alerts, we could create alert rules here, right? So if you wanted, I don't know, let's just search for critical, right? Let me hit search. Right, this should give you some options here of various reports. So yeah, here you go, missing Windows critical updates. We could select that, right? Again, we could enable alert every time we see these these critical Windows updates come in, right? We could have it emailed to a certain group or a certain user as well, right? All right, so moving on really quick here. Software repository, right? So by default, Action 1 comes with a bunch of different softwares that we could install, right? And a lot of the major players are there, right? 7-Zip, Adobe, Password, WinRAR, Cisco, Citrix, a bunch of different things. And then we could just use the search bar here, Zoom, etc. A bunch of various software right out of the box. We could install these software on computers, right? However, we could also add a repository, right? So say that if we had well, I have to verify this account, which I'm guessing I did not do as yet, right? But once we verify the account, let me see if I can do that here really quick while I'm on this demo, right? I should be able to add like custom software, like software that is not included on their list, right? Confirm. All right, so yeah, so let me try that again. Okay, so they need to actually verify my account, right? They said it takes about 3 business days. But once they do that, you would be able to upload your own repositories. So say if you had a piece of software that you need to install in your organization, but it's not showing up here, you would then be able to upload that, that package, which would give you the ability to see it here, and be able to install it, right? Agent deployment, again here, if we have Active Directory, this actually hooks into Active Directory and allows you to install it that way as well. I don't have Active Directory right now to be able to do that, but you could do it if you're in an Active Directory environment. Script library, so we have all these various scripts, right? We could also manually, I think you could create a script. Yeah, you could create a script. So if you wanted to run a script against a machine in real time, whatever the case may be, you could do that, right? We also have a bunch of various scripts here that could be run as well. We have remote wipe, flush DNS, a bunch of different things here that we could do, right? We could run against endpoints. So let me see. I don't know if I showed you guys how to do that, right? But yeah, we could run scripts. Run script, right? So we could run scripts here, right? Script library, we could choose a script from here, right? And disable USB. If we want to do that, we can select that, confirm, and yeah, we could run a script here, right? So moving on, advanced. For advanced, what do we do here? Oh, here we can actually change some of the system settings. So by default, it has the Action 1 logo, right? That is shown here. If you wanted, you have your own logo, you could totally customize this, right? You could hit edit, upload your logo, right? So it doesn't show Action 1, but it shows your company logo. Also, for end user prompt, you could customize that as well. And a bunch of different things here as well. Like if you had your update SLA, deployment SLA, you had a bunch of different things here. You could customize this to your use case, right? Moving on for subscriptions. So as I told you, we are under the free subscription. We have up to 100 endpoints, which is perfect for small, really small, medium-sized businesses. However, if you want to get anything more than this, you need to request a quote. Again, this is the full feature software we're using, with the only limitation being it can only go on 100 devices. Organizations, we only have one organization right now, but based on your use case you may have more, and here we can add additional users too. So if we wanted to add enterprise admin, or based on the user, we could add additional users here as well, and we could add users here as well too, right? So we could send an invite to the user, we could select the organization, and we could select their role, right? Yeah, so we can invite users there as well. Data sources. So here, this shows you a list of all the data sources that Action 1 actually gets its data from, that it populates. This is a list of the data sources here. We also have the option of creating a new data source once our account is verified. Last but not least, we have the API credentials. So let's say you're hooking this into something like a SIEM, like Splunk, or some sort of login platform. We could do that here by generating an API key and logging that into your system, integrating that into your system. And guys, I know this video has been longer than I anticipated, but yeah, that's the walkthrough of Action 1. And just one real quick thing I want to show you here before we end. So yeah, just quickly I wanted to show you the roadmap. So this is a bunch of different things they have up and coming, over the next year or so, right? One big thing I'm looking forward to is the Mac agent release, which is scheduled for March 2024. Right now it's only available on Windows, but hopefully by March we should be able to use this on Mac as well. And similarly, there are a bunch of different improvements that they're releasing in January. It looks like agent for Linux support is in June 2024 plus, right? But if you are interested in looking at what they have in the up and coming roadmap, you could also check them out here, right? To see what they have in store. And guys, that brings me to the end of this video, right? So it took a little longer than I anticipated, but guys, I am really blown away with Action 1, being a quote-unquote free RMM platform up to 100 devices. I have yet to see something that compares to this, right? And as I told you, I've used a couple different RMMs in the past, but I haven't seen anything really that gives you this amount of features for free, essentially, right? So I'm interested in knowing what you think, right? Let me know in the comment section below. Do you currently use a RMM in your organization? If so, what RMM do you use? Are you looking to get one? What are your thoughts on this RMM, Action 1? Do you think it's worth a shot? I certainly do, especially if you're on a tight budget or just looking to kind of play around and get a feel of RMM platforms. This is definitely something worth looking at. So that brings me to the end of this video, guys, and as always, I want to thank you so much for viewing. And if you like this kind of content, be sure to give me a big thumbs up. That really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. It helps to spread this video to other people in search of similar technologies, right? It helps this video to show up more for them, right? So just do me a favor and give me a big thumbs up. And also, if you like this kind of content in general, right, computer networking, system administration, cybersecurity, anything like that, consider subscribing to the channel. Those are the kind of videos I make on this channel. That's the kind of things I am passionate about, and I like sharing my knowledge with others. As always, thanks again for viewing. See you soon.